one of the most common questions I get from women is this: how do I know if he actually wants me or if he's just being nice? And it's a powerful question because, let's be honest, men aren't always straightforward about their desires. Sometimes they play it cool, sometimes they hide behind casual flirting, and sometimes they're terrified of being too obvious in case they scare you off. But here's the truth: no matter how hard he tries to mask it, sexual attraction always leaks out. It shows in the way he looks at you, the way he positions his body around you, the way his energy shifts the second you walk into the room. And when you start noticing those tiny tells, you unlock a whole new level of confidence. You stop second guessing, stop asking yourself, "Is he into me?" and start knowing deep down when his desire is more than friendly. Think about it. Haven't you ever felt it? That charge in the air when he leans a little too close. That way his eyes linger on you, that silence where it feels like the world just pauses. That's not friendship. That's chemistry. That's his body betraying what his words don't say. And here's why this matters: when you can read the signs, you hold the power. You're no longer waiting for him to make a move or to spell it out. You can decide if you want to lean into that attraction or if you want to set a boundary. Either way, you get to control the pace because knowledge is power and attraction is a game best played by the woman who knows the rules. So today, I'm going to break down the 5 undeniable signs he wants you sexually. When a man desires you, his eyes almost always give him away before anything else does. He might be composed in his words, smooth in his tone, even disciplined enough to keep his body language in check, but his eyes will betray him because desire is instinctive. It's not calculated. It's not thought out. It happens in a split second, and often he doesn't even realize he's doing it until you catch him. Think about this for a moment. When you're in conversation with someone, most people look at your face. They look into your eyes. They glance away now and then. But when a man wants you sexually, his gaze has a different rhythm. He looks at your mouth when you're talking as if he's imagining what it would be like to kiss you. His eyes wander down, taking in the shape of your body, the movement of your hips, or the way your legs are crossed. Sometimes it's subtle, a flicker of a second, almost too quick to notice. Other times it's more intense, like he's drinking you in and can't quite help himself. The important part to understand is the quality of that gaze. This isn't about objectification. It's about hunger mixed with fascination. It's not the same as a random stranger giving you a crude once over on the street. This is different. This is a man whose attraction to you is personal. His eyes linger not just on your body, but on the way you move within it. There's a softness, a kind of reverence in his stare, like he's both turned on and captivated at the same time. That blend of respect and desire is what makes it feel electric instead of uncomfortable. And here's what makes it even more powerful. Often, he doesn't want you to notice. He'll look away quickly, try to focus on something else, or pretend to be casual. But if you're paying attention, you'll see the pattern repeat itself. His eyes fall back to you like a magnet. No matter how much he tries to focus on the conversation, no matter how many people are around, you are his focal point. Now, here's where it gets interesting. When you notice this, you don't have to call it out or make it obvious. The most magnetic women understand that this is part of the dance. They register it, they feel it, and sometimes they even play into it. A slight lean forward, a playful smile when you catch him staring, a moment where you hold his gaze just a little longer than usual. It amplifies the tension without a word being spoken. That's when the energy between you shifts from casual to charged. There's also a subtle psychological layer here. Eye contact is deeply intimate. We can all make small talk with strangers, but locking eyes for more than a second creates a connection that feels almost vulnerable. So when his eyes keep returning to your lips, your neckline, your body, he's revealing more than just attraction. He's showing that he can't keep his guard up around you. His desire is strong enough to break through his composure. And maybe you've experienced that moment before, where the air feels thicker, where a single glance feels loaded with everything that hasn't been said out loud. That's not imagination, that's chemistry. That's his eyes doing the talking. His mouth is too cautious to speak. So the next time you notice his gaze falling to your body, don't brush it off as coincidence. Don't overthink it as just friendliness. A man can be polite, respectful, charming, but when his eyes keep returning to you again and again, that's not just interest, that's desire. And the beauty of recognizing it is that you now know exactly what he's feeling, even when he's trying not to show it. touch is one of the clearest signals of desire, and when a man wants you sexually, his touch often carries a kind of electricity that you can't mistake once you feel it. It's not always about him grabbing you or being obvious. In fact, the most telling signs are usually subtle. It's the way his hand grazes your arm as he makes a point, or how he steadies you with a palm on your lower back when you walk through a crowded space. But here's the key at Lingers. It stays just a little longer than necessary, long enough for you to notice the warmth of his skin, long enough for you to register that this is not just casual contact. Think about it. Most people touch in functional ways. A handshake, a quick pat on the shoulder, an accidental brush of the arm, these things happen all the time without any sexual undertone. But when a man desires you, touch becomes intentional. Even if he disguises it as casual, it carries weight. He doesn't pull his hand away too quickly because deep down he doesn't want to. He wants that moment of closeness to last, even if it's just for an extra second or two. This lingering touch creates a charge. You feel it in your body instantly. Your skin becomes aware, your heartbeat picks up, and there's a sudden awareness of him that wasn't there a moment ago. And here's the beauty of it. It's often not what he says, but what he does with that moment. A brush of his fingers on your hand as he passes you something, a light touch on your knee during a laugh, or a hug that holds on just a fraction longer than it needs to. Each of these is his way of testing the waters, signaling attraction without having to declare it outright. Now, one of the reasons this kind of touch feels so intimate is because touch is personal. We don't let just anyone into our space. We all have a bubble of comfort, and when someone enters it, it's either welcome or intrusive. When a man wants you sexually, his instinct is to close that gap. He wants proximity. He wants contact. He might not say, "I want to feel you," but he communicates it through the way his hand finds excuses to meet your skin. Of course, not every touch is appropriate, and this is where your intuition matters. You know when it feels charged in a good way versus when it feels uncomfortable. But when it's right, when you're both drawn to each other, you'll notice that his touch becomes this unspoken conversation. He's saying, "I'm drawn to you. I want to be closer." And when you let that linger, when you don't pull away, the message you send back is just as powerful. Another fascinating part of this is how men often disguise these touches. He may act like he's brushing something off your shoulder, guiding you through a doorway, or leaning in close to whisper something just for you. But underneath those gestures is desire. Those little excuses are his way of getting to feel the connection of skin to skin without making it overt. And if you watch carefully, you'll see that it happens again and again, because once he starts, it's hard for him to resist. The truth is, sexual attraction thrives in the gray area between obvious and subtle. It's in those fleeting moments that feel almost accidental, but you both know they're not. And when his touch lingers longer than necessary, it's not just about physical closeness, it's about creating tension. He's letting you feel the spark without saying a word, and that tension builds anticipation. It's the pause before the kiss, the brush before the embrace, the silent declaration that he wants more than just friendly contact. So the next time his hand rests on you for just a moment too long, recognize it for what it is. It's not random, it's not coincidence, it's attraction spilling out through touch. His desire showing itself in the smallest but most telling ways. And once you notice it, you'll never mistake it again. When a man wants you sexually, one of the most undeniable signs is the way he engineers closeness between the two of you. Proximity is powerful. We don't move toward people unless we feel drawn to them. And when a man desires you, you'll notice that he seems to keep finding ways to be within your orbit. It's not always conscious. Sometimes it's instinct. He gravitates towards you like you're a magnet pulling him in. But if you pay attention, you'll see the little ways he creates those moments of closeness. It might be something as simple as where he chooses to sit. There could be a dozen empty chairs, but he picks the one right next to you. Or maybe you're walking in a group and somehow he always ends up at your side, close enough that your shoulders brush as you move. Even in conversation, he leans in, his body angled toward you, reducing the space between you until it feels like the rest of the room fades out. These are not coincidences. These are deliberate, even if he doesn't realize how deliberate they are. And what makes these moments so potent is that closeness isn't just about space, it's about intimacy. A man who is only friendly will keep a natural distance, respecting those invisible boundaries we all have. But when he wants you, those boundaries shrink. He'll lean across the table to hear you better, drop his voice low so you have to come closer to catch what he's saying, or stand just close enough that you feel his body heat. It's subtle, but it's charged. That nearness creates a bubble between you, and in that bubble, the energy feels different, more personal, more electric, more filled with possibility. Have you ever noticed how the atmosphere shifts when someone you're attracted to stands close to you? Suddenly, your senses heighten. You're aware of their scent, the brush of their sleeve, the way their presence takes up space next to yours. That's exactly what's happening when he creates these moments of closeness. He wants you to feel his presence. He wants you to register the chemistry. And whether he knows it or not, he's giving himself away. Now, here's something fascinating. Closeness is often a testing ground. By moving closer, he's gauging your response. Do you lean into? Do you pull back? Do you hold eye contact when his face is suddenly just inches from yours? Every one of those little interactions tells him whether the attraction is mutual. If you mirror his closeness, he feels encouraged. If you shy away, he knows to slow down. In this way, proximity becomes a silent conversation, one where words are replaced by distance or the lack of it. Another giveaway is the timing of these moments. He'll often find ways to create closeness when the mood is already warm, when you're laughing together, when the energy is playful, or when the conversation dips into something more personal. It's not random. He senses the vibe and uses it to shrink the gap between you. Maybe he leans in during a joke or lowers his voice when he says something teasing, so it feels like a secret meant only for you. That's not just attraction, it's intimacy in motion. And here's what makes it so powerful. Closeness builds anticipation. Before anything physical even happens, he's laying the groundwork for desire by making the space between you smaller and smaller. It's like he's saying without words, I want to be where you are. That slow escalation, the lean in, the brush of contact, the shared bubble of space creates the kind of sexual tension that makes even the simplest interaction feel loaded with meaning. So the next time you find him choosing the seat beside you, leaning in just a little too close or lowering his voice until you can feel his breath, don't dismiss it. That's not coincidence. That's not just friendliness. That's a man who is drawn to you, who wants you, and who can't help but close the gap between you every chance he gets. And once you see it for what it is, you'll realize just how loud silence and proximity can speak. One of the most fascinating signs that a man wants you sexually isn't in his words, but in how his entire energy changes the moment you're near. It's almost like his body switches into another mode. He doesn't even plan it, it just happens. And if you listen closely, you'll notice it first in his voice. A man who's attracted to you often can't help but let his tone drop slightly lower, slower, more deliberate. It's like his voice takes on a different quality when he's speaking to you compared to anyone else around. Why does this happen? Because attraction alters the way we want to be perceived. When a man is drawn to you, he wants to project strength, calmness, confidence, and his voice is one of the tools he unconsciously uses to do that. So instead of his usual casual tone, his words take on more weight. He leans into pauses. He emphasizes things differently, and if you pay attention, you might notice he uses your name more often, like he wants the sound of it hanging in the air between you. But it's not just his voice, it's his energy, his entire presence. Suddenly, he's more attentive. He's leaning in when you talk, responding faster, engaging more deeply with what you're saying. He laughs more at your jokes. His eyes light up in a way they don't with others. And he seems to have this heightened sense of alertness whenever you're speaking. That shift is not random. It's desire tuning him in. Like every part of him is oriented toward you. Another clue is how he uses silence. Men who are sexually interested often create moments where their voice dips. Then they just pause. They hold eye contact. They let the silence sit for a beat too long. Why? Because they know, even if only instinctively, that silence builds tension. It's in those tiny gaps that the air gets thicker, that your mind begins to wonder what he's thinking. And often, what he's thinking is exactly what you suspect, that he's imagining being closer, being more intimate, moving beyond words altogether. It also shows in the contrast. Watch how he speaks with others compared to how he speaks with you. With his friends, he might be louder, casual, joking around. But when he turns to you, his tone softens, lowers, almost as if he's letting you into a more private version of himself. That shift is a telltale sign of attraction because he wants you to feel singled out, like you have his undivided attention. And then there's playfulness. Men who want you often channel that desire into energy that feels flirtatious, teasing, almost boyish. They lean into a kind of rhythm that makes you feel like you're in on a private game with them. He might banter more, challenge you lightly, or play with words in a way that invites you to fire back. Underneath that lightheartedness is sexual tension. It's his way of building a spark without being overt. What makes this so powerful is that it's not just about words, it's about how you feel when you're with him. His energy becomes magnetic. You notice that when he's around, you feel pulled into his orbit. His focus on you makes the space between you feel more intimate, even if you're in a crowded room. And that shift, the lowering of his voice, the intensity of his focus, the playful yet charged energy is his way of signaling that his attraction isn't just casual. It's deeper, more physical, more primal. So if you find yourself leaning in because his voice got quieter, or noticing that his whole vibe sharpens the second you walk in, take note. That's not coincidence. That's a man whose desire is bleeding through in his tone, his energy, and his attention. He may not say the words, but everything about the way he's showing up around you is whispering the same thing: I want you. Sometimes the most powerful sign that a man wants you sexually isn't something he does. It's the stillness that overtakes him when he's around you. It's those moments where the air thickens, the noise of the world fades, and suddenly you're both caught in a silence that feels charged, electric, almost unbearable. That's sexual tension. And when a man desires you, you'll see him get lost in it, almost as if he's caught between what he wants to do and what he feels he should hold back from doing. Think about those times you've been face to face with someone you're attracted to. A conversation slows down, you're laughing, your eyes meet, and for a moment, neither of you speaks. You feel it, the pause, the pull, the intensity of what isn't being said. That's exactly what happens with him. When he wants you, you'll notice his gaze lingers a beat too long. His breath catches for half a second, or his words trail off like he's momentarily forgotten what he was saying. That's not distraction, it's desire interrupting his composure. You might catch him biting his lip, glancing down at your mouth, or leaning in slightly only to stop himself. These micro gestures reveal that internal struggle. He wants to close the gap, to act on the chemistry, but he's weighing the moment, trying not to move too fast or show too much too soon. And the beauty is you can feel that conflict. His body is betraying him even when he's trying to stay cool. This tension isn't accidental. It's the natural result of attraction simmering beneath the surface. He might laugh less easily because he's too focused on you. He might fumble his words, not because he's nervous in general, but because your presence throws him off balance. His usual smoothness disappears, replaced by an energy that feels heavier, hotter, more magnetic. And the silence between you becomes louder than any words he could say. What's fascinating about sexual tension is that it lives in the unsaid. It thrives in eye contact held a fraction too long, in a touch that doesn't quite happen, in the suspended space where both of you are aware of what's possible, but neither has crossed the line yet. When he gets lost in those moments, you'll see it in the way his whole body stills. He's not scrolling on his phone, not glancing around the room. He's locked onto you like you're the only thing occupying his mind. And here's the thing, tension like this is intoxicating. For him, it's a mix of excitement and restraint, of wanting to give in, but savoring the build up. For you, it's a chance to read the depth of his desire without him having to say a word. In fact, many women underestimate just how revealing these moments are. If you've ever wondered, does he want me? Pay attention to what happens in the silences. Does he lean closer but stop himself? Does he lock eyes with you and then break away, almost frustrated by his own self-control? That's his desire spilling out in real time. What makes these moments even more powerful is how they escalate the connection. They create anticipation, heighten curiosity, and intensify attraction before anything physical even happens. It's the slow burn that makes the eventual spark feel explosive. And often, a man who lets himself get lost in that tension is showing that he's not just interested in instant gratification. He's savoring the chemistry, building it, letting it draw both of you deeper. So when you notice him pausing mid-sentence, staring just a little too long, or leaning in like he's suspended between action and restraint, don't dismiss it. That's not awkwardness. That's not coincidence. That's sexual tension, the kind you can cut with a knife. And when a man gets lost in it with you, it's one of the clearest, most undeniable signs that he wants you, not just casually, but with a hunger that words could never fully capture. So there you have it, the 5 undeniable signs that a man wants you sexually, from the way his eyes can't help but wander, to the way his touch lingers, to the subtle ways he pulls you closer, shifts his voice, and finally loses himself in the tension between you. These are the little giveaways that tell you his attraction runs deeper than friendliness. But here's the key. Recognizing these signs isn't about just knowing he wants you. It's about stepping into your own power. Because when you can read his body language, when you can feel the energy he's putting out, you no longer have to wait for him to spell it out or make a move. You're in control of the moment. You can decide whether to lean into that chemistry or step back and set the boundary. And that choice, that ability to respond instead of react, is what makes you magnetic. So the next time you notice these signs, trust your instincts. Don't overthink, don't second guess. Smile, play with the tension, and remember, the real power isn't in knowing that he wants you. It's in knowing that you get to choose what happens next.